Let me try it again. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. If you're glad to be alive, clap your hands, everybody. It is a privilege and an honor to have all of you all here. Good morning and God bless you. My name is Pastor Chris Harris. I'm the pastor of Bright Star Church and also the founder and CEO of Bright Star Community Outreach. And we are so humbled to have all of you all here today. We welcome you to Bright Star Church of God in Christ, housed here in the historic Roberts Temple Church of God in Christ, where together these two faith institutions represent more than 161 years of spiritual enlightenment and social empowerment. This great place where we now stand has been instrumental in various and amazing ways. First of all, spiritually. Roberts Temple is known as the mother church of the Church of God in Christ denomination in the Midwest of the United States of America, where many great leaders and churches have been birthed out of this place. Not only are we known for spiritual work, but also, secondly, historically. As you may know, as you may not know, that this is the church where the funeral of Emmett Till was actually held. He was funeralized right here, making this place a historic landmark and a civil rights icon. And not only spiritually, not only historically, but also musically. It is in this place, in this pulpit, that the world-renowned singer and guitarist, Rosetta Tharpe, known for her gospel, jazz, blues, rock and roll, and rhythm and blues. Yes, the preacher said rhythm and blues. Developed her amazing gift by playing right here in this particular church. They used to literally take her and put her on a stand, sometimes on top of the organ, so that she can pick her guitar and inspire people with her amazing voice. It is no surprise that Bright Star Community Outreach's partnership with Illinois Humanities will take on a conversation as well as action around mass incarceration. It is our hope through arts and humanities that, watch this, justice will prevail, freedom will ring, and all will envision justice for our communities, families, and individuals that will be impacted by this year's amazing programs. All of this on the heels and in the background of 5 decades of honoring, remembering, and reflecting on the fact that it is around this time that the historic, amazing preacher, Dr. Martin Luther King, was assassinated. I want us to all take just a moment now as we remember and reflect his life and even honor his death. But now it is our turn to do what King did. So I proudly welcome you to the Bronzeville community, to Bright Star Church of God in Christ, housed in Roberts Temple Church of God in Christ. And I say thank you, Illinois Humanities, for not only including Bright Star Community Outreach, but also for choosing Bronzeville. Clap your hands as we're excited to start this program.
I'm Angel Ysaguirre. I'm the executive director of Illinois Humanities. Illinois Humanities strengthens the social, political, and economic fabric of Illinois through constructive conversation and community engagement. We believe that a society of civilly engaged residents is strongest, and that public policy that is informed by the voices of all people are the smartest. Over the past few years, Illinois Humanities has a series of programs about the future of Illinois' public schools. Annually, we produce the People-Powered Publishing Conference, which explores journalistic strategies for making stories more community-centered. And we operate a college-level course in the humanities for adults who never had a chance to go to college due to financial barriers. A few years ago, we invited stakeholders in the public policy arena to advise us on the issues that they thought were the most pressing in Illinois. They told us that public education reform and a misguided criminal justice system were their 2 most pressing concerns. Annually, the United States spends $80 billion of taxpayers' money locking up its citizens. In Illinois, we commit $1.4 billion to the Department of Corrections in 2015. We spent $241 million alone locking up the citizens of North Lawndale. Of the almost 21,000 city blocks in Chicago, the people we lock up largely live on about 850 of those blocks, concentrated in very few neighborhoods, primarily in African American, Latino, and low-income neighborhoods. Illinois' spending on incarceration is ineffective and costly to all. And not only is there the financial cost for the ineffective system, but there's also the emotional cost to families whose parents and loved ones are locked away, the future health cost for those coming out of the system, and the social cost of taxpayers who have lost faith in our criminal justice system and thereby lose faith in other institutions. There are better ways to invest public dollars. Envisioning Justice is a response to this issue. It's a citywide initiative created and facilitated by Illinois Humanities, using the humanities and arts to engage Chicagoans in a citywide conversation about the impact of incarceration, with the goal of imagining a new criminal justice system. It will strengthen efforts to reimagine the criminal justice system in ways that meet the goals of justice, accountability, safety, support, and restoration for all people impacted by crime and violence. Through arts education, humanities-based discussions and presentations, artist commissions, documentaries, and exhibitions, Illinois Humanities will connect diverse perspectives and people from across the city with each other to examine the impact of incarceration on local communities and diverse strategies to lower the criminal justice system's impact. Amplify existing advocacy, strengthen network of advocates, and build the capacity of organizations and people who are already engaged in this work. Support innovative collaborations, centering the voices of those most directly impacted by the issue, and educate Chicagoans about the complexity of the system, including reform elements pertaining to the system before arrest, trial, jails, and prisons. None of this would have been possible without a remarkably deep partnership with the MacArthur Foundation and the Safety and Justice Challenge. While the MacArthur Foundation's help and support, or with the MacArthur Foundation's help and support, Illinois Humanities spent a year and a half facilitating planning with stakeholders in the criminal justice system. And a $1.5 million grant from the MacArthur Foundation, in addition to a plethora of other forms of support, has enabled us to build this initiative. They have been partners unlike any I've encountered in my 22 years working in Chicago. A variety of programming will serve as a catalyst to drive conversations and new ideas through networks in 5 neighborhoods that are disproportionately impacted by the issue, and also Cook County Jail and the Juvenile Temporary Detention Center, to identify reform-based vocabulary, newly identified common goals, and new collaborations. In doing so, Envisioning Justice will also strengthen the capacity of leaders and organizations who are engaged in this work in underrepresented communities. Each hub has developed its own approach to addressing the issue and has its own personality. You'll soon hear about programming that the hubs are operating. In addition to the Arts and Humanities program at the hubs, Envisioning Justice will also offer grants to community-based organizations who are operating humanities and arts-based programs in jails and prisons, for small group discussions that address the concerns of envisioning justice, and for attempts to engage a broader audience in policy efforts. The year and a half of programming will culminate in an exhibition and public programming at the Chicago Cultural Center, thereby engaging an even broader audience. I'm pleased to announce that just yesterday, architect Jeannie Gang and her studio gang have come on as partners in designing the culminating Envisioning Justice exhibition. The effort of Envisioning Justice is partly Illinois Humanities and partly the incredible network of people who are represented here today. Illinois Humanities board and staff have been incredible in supporting this initiative, and I want to shout out just a few people on our staff who have done incredible work. Paul DeRica, our program director, Elliot Heilman, Jane Beachy, Joshua Slater, Zerlene Thomas, Tarshell Beards, Jason Smith, and Danny Orendorf. I'm grateful to the dozens of partners who are making Envisioning Justice possible. We invite the public and the media to join us. For information, one can go to www.envisioningjustice.org for more information. Please join us in existing conversations and start one of your own. And now I'd like to thank and welcome Julia Stasch, President of the MacArthur Foundation.
Thank you, Angel, and thank you, Pastor Harris, for inviting us into this awesome house. Thank you. I am inspired by this project. I'm inspired by your team. I'm inspired by all of the Envisioning Justice participants. You represent the many perspectives, experiences, and communities that make Chicago so rich. I am here today, though, in support of this timely, essential effort. You know, it's true, there's a disheartening divide at the national and local level, and actually a crisis of trust in public institutions. First, among those discredited institutions is a criminal justice system that is perceived to be unfair and ineffective, often capricious and even harmful. It's true that there is encouraging reform underway across the country, but can it even be called a justice system when it fails to operate for the benefit of so many communities? So now more than ever, we need to hear from individuals and communities directly affected by the justice system. And Envisioning Justice will go a step farther. We'll bring Chicagoans together to imagine a true justice system, one that is fairer, trusted, that seeks to rehabilitate and promote the well-being of our communities. Envisioning Justice will communicate the real value of lived experience and the concrete visions for a more just system, all to inform plans for reform with the goal of repairing relations with local communities and restoring confidence in the legitimacy of the justice system. Now, at MacArthur, justice reform has been a priority for more than 20 years. Our Safety and Justice Challenge is an initial $100 million investment in a national effort to change how this country thinks about and uses jails. We're funding 40 jurisdictions around the country, including right here in Cook County, to implement reforms to fix the overuse and the misuse of jails and to find alternatives to incarceration. All of this with an emphatic focus on the disproportionate impact on low-income individuals and communities of color. Now, Envisioning Justice brings together MacArthur's concern for a just society with our support for creative expression through the arts and humanities here in Chicago. Now, we all know that the arts improve quality of life and strengthen the fabric of communities. They fuel individual expression, they help develop identity and potential, and they allow people to connect with each other. What better way to bring people together to bear witness to their lives and inspire a new vision for a more just future? I know that I speak for all of the supporters of Envisioning Justice when I say I cannot wait to see what this project will yield throughout the year and to hear what our communities have to say. But first, let's hear from the representatives from the Envisioning Justice hubs about the diverse approaches that they are taking to lift up these essential voices. Thank you.
Again, I'm Nicole Carter. I am the Director of Community Strategy and Development for Bright Star Community Outreach. And I also have the pleasure of serving as the Hub Director in Brownsville for the Envisioning Justice program facilitated by Illinois Humanities. Bright Star Community Outreach is a 501c3 nonprofit that has been in existence for 9 years. BSCO, as we're affectionately known, was birthed out of the vision of Pastor Chris Harris, who is not only our founder and our CEO, but is also the pastor of Bright Star Church of God in Christ. Pastor Harris believed that the work of the church should move beyond its four walls and its effect more lasting than just on Sunday morning. With very humble beginnings, BSCO was born. Our mission is to empower residents to share in the responsibility of building community through resource development and collaborative partnerships. We accomplish our mission by developing innovative, performance-based practices and programs to address the need for violence prevention, community engagement, economic development, education, healthy children, youth, and families. At BSCO, we envision today's underserved communities becoming self-sufficient, livable communities for individuals, families, and organizations. Communities strong and nurturing in positive thought and behavior in the home, community, and marketplace. Bright Star Community Outreach is committed to reducing violence and its effects, starting in Bronzeville and ultimately the city that we all love and call home. Every day, we work to achieve this goal by delivering intentional programming that considers both prevention and intervention. So you may ask, how does Envisioning Justice fit into the work that we do? Illinois Humanities has given us the space to have activities and conversations both in our local community as well as throughout the city, allowing us to reimagine what the criminal justice system should look like. These activities and conversations allow both harmonious and dissonant voices to work together, tackling difficult and sometimes uncomfortable topics. While many of us agree that change in criminal justice system needs to take place, many of us have varying opinions on how that change should take place and what the criminal justice system ultimately should look like. The beauty of what Envisioning Justice does is it permits us to use the arts and humanities as the vehicle for discussion. The arts and humanities offers the opportunity to tackle these difficult topics in a way that's a little more palatable to discuss. The arts have historically shown to provide healing. I'd venture to say that Envisioning Justice will help bring healing to the fractures, wounds, and pain that the criminal justice system has inflicted on various communities. In the Bronzeville Hub, we are fortunate to have programming in a place of historical significance. As Pastor Harris mentioned, this is the location that held the funeral for Emmett Till, where as a community we took a strong stand and exposed hate. You also heard that Rosetta Tharpe began her musical career from Roberts Temple. So capitalizing on the history of this building, we've crafted programming that honors our past while looking towards our future. During the month of February, we hosted weekly sessions called Still Till, Why Then, What Now? We explored Emmett Till's life. We heard from mothers who had lost sons. We listened to youth and how they thought that we could partner with them towards a successful future. And we ended our series with reconciliation and healing. This program served as the foundation for activities that we now host on Tuesdays from 4:30 to 6:30 with high school students. We've kept the name. It's called Still Till. Students learn to write their own songs of liberation using templates from the civil rights era and the story of Emmett Till as historical context. Students draw upon the sounds of anti-prison and civil rights movement and place them in a modern context, utilizing digital and analog instrumentation. On Thursday, we have activities also from 4:30 to 6:30 for our middle school students. Students practice vocal performance, writing, and directing by reenacting, rewriting, and reimagining famous speeches of civil rights activists, artists, musicians, and other influential figures from the movement against mass incarceration. By playing with context and delivery, students find evocative and meaningful ways to bring historical words into the present moment. On Saturdays, from 12 to 3, the community comes together to work towards supporting our young people. This is an opportunity for our residents to get hands-on experience making art that has impact. Throughout the course of our 10 weeks, multimedia collaborative project, adults from all ages in the Bronzeville community will use performance and public speaking to explore issues related to mass incarceration and the criminal justice system, drawing connections between the past and the present. Led by professional artists, participants work together to create compelling and dynamic art projects that will be shared with the community at large. This 10-week iteration has already spurred interesting conversation, starting with retaliation versus rehabilitation. Bright Star Community Outreach is excited about the opportunity to facilitate these much-needed conversations. We are thankful to Illinois Humanities for suggesting the lens of arts and humanities through which these conversations are happening. I am inspired by my fellow hub directors who are committed to making this initiative a success. And finally, I'm humbled to serve the community through this work. Thank you.
Good morning. I feel good right now. We at Circles and Ciphers, who infuses hip-hop into restorative justice, an organization that is located in Rogers Park, led and by for young people, impacted by violence, using art and base peace circles, education, and direct actions. We empower participants to transform legacies of violence and incarceration. Restorative justice peacemaking circles are sacred and revolutionary practice derived from Aboriginal and ingenious traditions. Circles and Ciphers infuses traditional peacemaking circles with hip-hop music and also in art as a way of encouraging young people to build community. I am Sharif, the greatest, like I always say. And I am one of the leaders in the space. Sharif talks about how CC has impacted me. Well, since 2011, it was a gang conflict that was going on in Roger C. Sullivan, to be exact. And I was a part of the gang conflict. And basically, the school was basically like, oh, well, Sharif, go to Circles and Ciphers as like feeding us to the sharks, but really the sharks didn't really eat us. So within that, as that little art, they really opened up my eyes saying like, oh, this is where you get your education. Why you want to do something where you get your education? Just get further education. And from that day forward, outside of the box, he was like, we have this circle that goes on in Rogers Park, right down the street. And he's like, just come to our circle and see what you feel will be best. As from that experience, you know what I'm saying, me personally, I feel like me bringing that awareness towards different communities, also as youth my age, to be exact, like just telling them have an open mind, open heart, and within that little piece I'm making, also infusing hip-hop into that, I was like, yeah, this is definitely something I can relate to and also spread the word to other youth.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Throughout the Envisioning Justice initiative, we plan to continue to empower and teach our youth about the impact of incarceration through the 5 pillars and roots of healthy, independent people helping other people, aka hip-hop, and how each pillar over time has been a conduit for oppressed people to fight for an end of the criminalization and incarceration of poor, low-income, and people of color. Like the Daddy Kanes, the Pacs, the Kendricks, the G Herbals, we activate hip-hop to nourish and empower our people with the knowledge, skills, and attributes to build and sustain strong and healthy communities. The 5 pillars of hip-hop that stand today that we'll be teaching is MCing, DJing, b-boying, b-girling, graffiti, and knowledge of self. For as long as hip-hop has existed, it has reflected the politics, culture, and experiences of its communities. Global criminal and juvenile justice systems have shaped millions of lives in America and around the entire world. Hip-hop is a worldwide culture activated by those directly impacted by the these oppressive systems to resist, build, and sustain strong and healthy communities. My village raised them a child, come through the crib and this busing me. Anyone from my city, they gonna say that we cousins. As I caught a little bit of chance through the Envisioning Justice initiative, we can only succeed if we work together as a family to finally take the time to listen to our youth and build them up. Thank you, Illinois Humanities, the MacArthur Foundation, all the other hubs, my amazing team at Circles and Ciphers, and the people and organizations who have continued to support us along the way. Thank you.
Good morning. How y'all feeling? Once again, I'm Kristiana Rae Calon. I'm a poet, a playwright, and one of the co-founders and co-directors of the Let Us Breathe Collective, which operates the Breathing Room Space, an arts healing and organizing hub for Black liberation on the south side of Chicago. The Let Us Breathe Collective is an alliance of artists and activists organizing through a creative lens to imagine a world without prisons and police. We emerged in 2014 in response to the Ferguson uprisings after the death of Mike Brown. My friends and I, artists, poets, journalists, filmmakers, were heartbroken seeing our fellow American citizens tear gassed by police for protesting the death of an unarmed teenager. And we decided to use our artistic access and cultural capital to bring tear gas support to protesters in Ferguson and uplift a group of young people that were staging an encampment on Florissant Avenue, the main thoroughfare where the protests were held. And we organized cultural production around the stories of those young Ferguson protesters, pop-up galleries, poetry performances, film screenings, panel discussions, and creative direct actions to amplify the resistance in Ferguson. And that led us to our own direct action and creative performance-based resistance here in Chicago. You may have heard about our occupation of Freedom Square across the street from the CPD facility, Homan Square, in 2016, in homage to the original occupation of Florissant Avenue in Ferguson. We staged our own occupation outside of CPD's Homan Square facility, where for 45 days we protested the investment in violent systems that do not keep our communities safe. And so the original encampment of Freedom Square was 7 tents that each symbolized the areas that we believe that we should be investing in instead of prisons and police: restorative justice, education, employment, housing, nutrition, arts, and mental health. And those are the things that actually keep our communities safe. Since 2017, we have been rehabbing a 3,000 square foot facility in back of the yards to harness the momentum that we built at Freedom Square into a sustainable location where we can offer our services to the community. So we are really excited to be partnering with Envisioning Justice to expand those offerings. We have recently launched the Free the People Academy, where we are offering teaching artist residencies in the themes of abolition, self-governance, anti-capitalism, Black queer feminism, Afro-indigeneity, surrealism, and Afrofuturism across the disciplines of performance, visual art, healing arts, and culinary arts. We're also launching our program series Tribe Day, which is an open house and community building program. Freedom Circles, which is a partnership with the Resist, Rebuild, Reimagine Coalition, where we will host dinner and dialogue conversations around the Freedom Cities campaign, each dinner and dialogue exploring a different campaign of what makes a freedom city, and relaunching our Breathing Room series, a performance and political education open mic where we make political education as pleasurable and accessible as possible. Artists and political educators each have 4 minutes to share a teach-in on solitary confinement or a teach-in on tax increment financing, mixed in with spoken word, hip hop, breakdancing, any performative medium you can think of. And so we are really, really grateful to be partnering with Illinois Humanities and Envisioning Justice to expand those offerings, to expand the offerings of our free store, where we offer free clothes, free shoes, accessories, books, and housewares to the community, where we will have expanded general operating hours for the free store. The free store is the embodiment of our ideological, foundational ideology that abundance is the law and scarcity is engineered, and the poverty and violence that results from scarcity is engineered. So the free store is one of the ways that we embody that belief, and the Envisioning Justice initiative will help us expand that offering as well. We believe that artists are the vanguard of social change, and that in order to build a liberated and more just future, we first have to be able to imagine that future. So we are very grateful to be partnering with Illinois Humanities and Envisioning Justice to incubate more visionaries to build that future together.
Great morning, everybody. Happy to be here. Excited that all of you are here. I am Omar Managa from Open Center for the Arts. We are an arts organization created by artists. We believe that we are all artists, and art is the way that we communicate amongst each other. And the way that we do that is through storytelling, by whatever our story may be, by bringing awareness, or by just looking to see what's possible. While we are open to all, our sharing begins in our home, our community of Little Village in Marshall Square. It is known as the second largest Mexican community in the United States. And I'm happy to be there. Here we provide a space to share, showcase, and refine our artistic talents. Our organization was named Open Center for the Arts to remind us every day, every hour, and every moment to be open and to know that all is possible. The way that we share this is three ways. The first way is through workshops, workshops that unify the visual arts, the performance arts, culinary arts, healing arts, or any other type of art, like historias contadas.
Historias contadas is our way to tell stories, to rewrite the narrative, because we know that there's things that are being told about our community, but we own those stories. The second way we do that is through the exhibition of local artists, national artists, and international artists through a program called Voices of the World.
Voices of the World is uniting several organizations from all over the world to pick a topic and focus on that topic and put an open call for anyone to interpret what that topic means. Right now, we are exhibiting the We Are All Migrants, and there is over 500 artists from all over the world, 28 countries that participated in this to interpret what We Are All Migrants means. That refers to the walls that are created, the places we are born, the places we would like to go to. And now we are happy to say that in our community, the voice will be heard, and part of the youth will have a voice and be part of this exhibition. The third way that we explore is through projects that bring awareness, projects that are focused on listening to our past, understanding where we're at right now, and looking for ways to create a more beautiful, more unified future. And one of those projects right now is Envisioning Justice.
First, I'd like to thank Pastor Chris for accepting us in this beautiful house of worship. We know that Galatians 5:22 tells us that the fruits of the Spirit of love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, and temperance. And I would hope that those are the fruits that we exhibit in our community. So through EJ, the Special Project, this is beautiful because we've always been involved in social activism. I'm not coming out here and telling you to put down your weapons. I'm telling you to trade your weapons. Because just like we know that the pen is mightier than the sword, trade it in for a paintbrush, trade it in for a microphone. And together, We're going to build a team through the arts. Why the creative arts? Why is that important? Why is that the key? Well, let me name a few musicians or artists. Bob Marley. Bob Marley was an activist. So was John Lennon. They wanted to deport John Lennon. You know, if he was alive today, they'd build a wall around that man. That's why the creative arts are important. Let me give you another one. Picasso. They put Picasso under house arrest, and he painted Guernica. And when the German soldiers came in, or the Franco-Spanish soldiers, and said, "You did this?" He responded, said, "No, you did this." So that's why the creative arts are important. And that's why I'd like to extend and thank you, MacArthur Foundation, Illinois Humanities, for helping us to arm ourselves.
Love that.
Hi, I'm Dominique Stewart. I'm from BBF Family Services. Since 1961, BBF Family Services, formerly known as Better Boys Foundation, has served the North Lawndale community. North Lawndale, which was previously Czechoslovakian and then Jewish and now predominantly African American, has gone through a series of changes that has fostered this conversation of envisioning justice. One of those conversations, one of those situations that we are getting ready to remember is the 50th anniversary of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. 50 years ago, Dr. King came and lived in North Lawndale to shine the light on unfair housing and some of the other unfair practices that the African American community was enduring in that area. Such issues such as redlining and contract leasing, where they could not afford to live in the area that they resided in and were not allowed to even own the homes that they wanted to purchase. The other issues that we are encountering now is that North Lawndale is a very large feeder community to the Cook County justice system, as well as the Illinois justice system. And so as we have families torn apart through incarceration that are as simple as the over-policing, the hyper-policing of young people and adults, excessive ticketing for using bike lanes, excessive ticketing in terms of just driving. We are working with that community area to be able to empower them to know what they can do to arm themselves better, and not with guns, but to arm themselves with knowledge and higher learning and additional practices like using the arts and their voices to be able to speak in a way that helps them to disarm the unfair practices that they encounter on a daily basis. BBF Family Services is a comprehensive human services organization that focuses on 6 different areas: education, employment services, family services, youth services, health equity, and community engagement. We look to other community organizations as partners in this endeavor. We have over 100 partners just in North Lawndale alone and throughout the city of Chicago, so that we don't have to be the owner of every single thing. And we are grateful to Illinois Humanities, as well as to Jeramey and the other organizations who are allowing us to work with them and use their expertise to help to empower North Lawndale residents. I am excited about this opportunity. I'm excited that we see some of our teaching artists, Miguel and as well as Kirsten, who are coming to empower middle school and high school, and a very intergenerational project that we have going on with mostly seniors who are loving the fact that they can go back to childhood in a way and pick up crayons and markers and color and have conversations about how they feel about gentrification and the other issues that they encounter as they grow older and see their community change. And so I would like to say again, on behalf of our President and CEO, Rufus Williams, and our entire staff and team at BBF Family Services, Thank you for allowing us to be a part of this opportunity and allowing us to continue to work with other organizations to shine the light on justice and to give our community a chance to see something different and actualize something different in North Lawndale. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeramey Winfield, and I am the Restorative Justice Community Advocate and Practitioner for the Restorative Justice Community Court, the first of its kind right in North Lawndale. I also have the privilege of serving as the Hub Director for North Lawndale, and we are, in North Lawndale are excited about this opportunity to engage multiple elements of the community, from social service organizations to schools to business owners to residents, all these different sectors, able to engage them in conversation around looking at incarceration and the effect that it has on community through the community lens, but also not stopping there, but pushing it a step further to figure out how these conversations can lead and prompt us to some kind of action. Being in the position that I am with the Restorative Justice Community Court, I oftentimes, on a weekly basis, have the opportunity to sort of take a deeper look into, how restorative justice is working and how it's better than the current system. And I'm oftentimes amazed at some of the outcomes that we have an opportunity to sort of witness as we're taking these participants through the Restorative Justice Community Court. And so conversations around, imagining justice in terms of what it's been and up against what it's like now and up against how we see it some 10, 15 years right now is a very, very appropriate conversation to be having in a community like North Lawndale, who's on the brink of Dominique shared, some challenges, has been experiencing some challenges, but we're in a place where we're equipping community's voice to be amplified in a way that it hasn't been before, in a way that, has sort of been silenced for so long. And so we're excited that through Illinois Humanities and through MacArthur Foundation, we're able to come in communities and have very focused conversations around these topics, around these issues, and then not only that, engage our young people with the arts, educate them on from whence we've come with mass incarceration, what that means for them nowadays, and have an opportunity for them to sort of look forward and dream about how they see justice in the future. Thank you guys so much.
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Ryan Keesling. I am an educator and an artist and the founder and executive director of Free Right Arts and Literacy, which, I've been waiting actually a long time for this moment, so I'm going to just speak from the heart and tell you a little bit about what Free Right does and how it's going to impact sort of the way Envisioning Justice rolls out. So Free Right started about 20 years ago in the Cook County Juvenile Detention Center. When I began it, it incepted just as a one-on-one literacy tutoring project. I was in there about 10 hours a week, had a colleague doing this stuff. And we, in that moment, co-designed these tutoring sessions with the youngest of the residents in the Cook County Juvenile Detention Center. What I noticed really quickly is that some of those young people wanted to, first of all, they all had experience they all had trauma around the experience with reading. They were disaffected from it, they were just out of practice, and they wanted to do it, but they found themselves sort of stuck as they approached it. So one of the ways that we figured that out was to begin to ask them for words, because they were 13, 14, 15, 16, looking at these emergent reader texts, but not really ready to engage with something at an emergent reader level, because they are young men, young adults, young women, coming into this system where they have grown very fast, right? And have a lot of experiences in their communities, out in the world, and they have a lot of words. So in order to just access words and to begin this process of literacy acquisition and the skill building in that area, we started to ask for stories. And we started to write letters to grandmother. And we started to write responses to pictures that we were seeing. We were just pulling words out of the air and pulling words out of their hearts and out of their minds and out of their experiences in the juvenile detention center. So we started to amass these collections of writing, these autobiographical pieces, these poems, these responses to the situation that they were in. And we're like, wow, this is amazing. Let's make some copies of this. Let's share it with your teacher. Let's send that letter to grandma. Let's share it with your staff. Let's show progress that you're making here where people are consistently saying that you're not doing your work when you're really, here's your work right here in front of you. So over time, those collections started to grow and grow and grow. And myself, as having a background in literature and creative writing and lyrics and music, I'm like, well, we have something publishable here. Let's make a book. So in 2001, after a year of free write and a year of working through this process with a bunch of young people, we started publishing. And it's in that moment where we learned and that we saw, and that all of our students who were participating in the process and all the staff around us in the detention center and all the families that were engaged and all the sheriffs at the doors who were watching us carry these books in, being like, the kids did this? I'm like, yes, the kids upstairs did this. That's where we started to see and started to be guided by, or further guided by, our students' experiences and the stories that they tell. So I say that to, like, that sort of origin story, which some of you heard me tell already. I say that to say that this Envisioning Justice process and the initiative that we're all here to celebrate the beginning of, it's about time. Because we have been guided by these stories, and we have been learning from these young people in detention and people with lived experiences for a long time. And Free Write has been creating the space for the amplification of these stories, including the 7th anthology of creative writing here in art, right? So it's good that we're all here, and it's good that we're all in this room together. And I appreciate my colleagues on the stage for setting sort of the socio-political context of this work. And I appreciate the public discourse being in a place where it's ready to receive these stories, because it has not always been that way. Mass incarceration has not been on the tip of anybody's tongue up until this point. So I'm grateful for that, the context, and I'm grateful for the ears that are open. I'm grateful for the hearts that are open, and I want to issue a challenge because one thing about experiencing these stories, and one thing that Free Write is very good at, is not fetishizing these stories and not putting them out there as like, oh, look at these poor people experiencing these hard things. And then when you experience them in one of our gallery shows or you read them in our book, be like, oh, Free Write's doing such good work. Like, that's not what this is. This is about looking truthfully at the stories that are being told and asking yourself how you see yourself in that scenario. It's about connecting yourself to it and about people connecting to each other so that we can all work together to change and to transform what we are now realizing is a huge mess and is destroying lives and has systemically destroyed lives for a long time. So I didn't realize I was going to get up here and preach. Excuse me, Pastor Harris. But thank you. But I'm grateful for everyone's attention to this matter, and I'm grateful to the architects of this conversation who have been doing activism, who've been carving out spaces where spaces don't exist inside of facilities and in the community to have these conversations. So shout out to everybody who helped to build this landscape that we're in right now. And I'm also just so happy that we're here celebrating this moment, but also understand that when you read these stories, you're going to be looking at the face of tragedy, and do not run from it. Do not run. Like, see how you connect to it and figure out the way to move forward in a way that is now punitive, that can be restorative, and then eventually transformative, because we're here to change this and we're here to inform this conversation. We're not here to just we're not here to make pretty art and to make the jails look pretty and to make the people look pretty. We're here to transform this scenario. I probably missed a bunch of points that I was going to make, but that's good enough. So thank you very much.
Hi, my name's Sarah Ward. I am the Executive Director of Sky Art and founder. It's really exciting to be a part of this initiative for many reasons. I feel like it speaks to what I've been doing for the since 1996 in Chicago, when I came here to pursue my master's in art therapy and started working at the Cook County Juvenile Court System in 1997 with my internship. Mostly with sexually abused victims, but also in the Audi home and with kids on probation. In 1998, the Juvenile Justice Court Act was rewritten. It was called Balanced and Restorative Justice, and it afforded me the opportunity to get a job there. As a probation officer, I was an artist with a badge. It was about the coolest thing I could ever imagine. I took many pictures with my badge in photo booths all around Chicago. But I also did art therapy, and it was under the Balanced and Restorative Justice Act to do that with kids in the court system. And It's because of that that I established the first program in the country doing art therapy with kids on probation at the oldest courthouse in the whole country as well. And I got a couple more art therapists hired, and the program was established, but juvenile court was not for me. It was a very punitive system, and I felt like being a therapist in that system was extremely hard. And I felt like I wasn't doing the work I was meant to do, and so I established Sky Art, which was actually the South Chicago Art Center in 2001. And it is in a neighborhood called South Chicago. It is on the far southeast side of Chicago, and most Southsiders would know, but most people in Chicago don't know that South Chicago actually exists. They think you're actually talking about the south side of the city. So I established that with 18 students in 2001, and now in 2017, 2018, we have become Sky Art, actually in 2014, and we have become Sky Art, and we moved into a 6,000 square foot facility, and this initiative, Envisioning Justice, has allowed me to actually be the facilitator at the Audi Home, which I'm very excited to do. We are going to do a program which is beautiful in that it will allow other people to envision justice that don't understand the justice system, that might not be a part of it, that have no connection to it. It will be a kind of a pen pal system. In 1972 to 1976, my sister had a pen pal in Tasmania. And for me as a child, Tasmania was a different world. She would send pictures with lambs around her, and it was off the coast of Australia. There was no internet, obviously. And it was a different world to me. So I envisioned this project we're doing in the jail and at the Audi Home as a pen palship with people who, the jail is Tasmania to them. So I'm really excited about this. Thank you, MacArthur. Thank you, Illinois Humanities. Thank you, Pastor, for having us here. I'm coming here. He's amazing. And thank you all, friendly faces, and we're really excited about this. And Billy is also my Director of Creative Strategies, so he is not just with Just Art, but he is with Sky Art. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah, and thanks everybody here. I'm nervous, but that's okay. So it really is an honor to be here and to be amongst this group of people, all of whom are inspiring, as you know, because you've heard them speak. And there's very little that I can add to what's already been said, but I will just tell a quick story, which is, it's appropriate that we're in a church, because for me, the journey that landed me here started almost 20 years ago at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine on the Upper West Side of New York City, where I was working as an audio engineer, and I ran the microphones and the sound and the music for the Mass every Sunday. And I was not necessarily an attentive congregant. I was there on the job, but I did like to listen to the sermons, and I did always pay attention to those. And one week in particular, I was one of the crustier members of the clergy, Canon Luce, whom my boss always referred to as Loose Cannon. And Canon Luce got up there in his way and crustily acknowledged. He said, "We're all in this beautiful house together, and it's gorgeous, and look around, and right over there is Rikers Island, and there's thousands of our fellow citizens locked up, and that's wrong." And yeah, and he woke me up. And he planted a seed that took a lot of years to manifest and ultimately landed me here. And I'm also an artist and a teacher like Ryan, and I think a lot about, when I'm with students, about this idea of changing the world. Because students are young, and they want to change the world. And I'm young. You may not be able to tell that from looking at me. And I want to change the world. And I think that there are a lot of voices that say you can't change the world. And those voices are wrong. And whether you look at it spiritually, as I do, or socially, or even just purely scientifically, it is undeniable that we are connected and that what we do has an impact. So that your very thought impacts the entire universe forever. It's intimidating. There's a lot of pressure there. There's a lot of power there, and there's a lot of responsibility there. But my thinking as we embark on this journey is that if we focus enough care, attention, critical thinking, and love on the moment in our exchange with another human being, that moment will ripple out and bring about the large systemic change we all know needs to happen. So moment by moment, human interaction by human interaction, we make the change and we change the world. And I'm just incredibly grateful to be a part of this. Thank you all so much.
You've gotten a little bit of a taste of the incredible diversity of what Envisioning Justice is and will be. You've gotten a bit of a taste of the dedication, the passion, the creativity, and the intelligence of our partners. Thank you so much to all of you. I want to say a special thank you. I think about 2 years ago, I started chatting with folks at the MacArthur Foundation about the possibility of envisioning justice. And I texted a friend and former boss of mine and asked if she would lead the planning committee for Envisioning Justice. Her name is Michelle Boone. And she texted me back immediately and said, yes, Michelle is here. So thank you so much. Thanks to everyone from the MacArthur Foundation who have just given us so much time to this incredibly unyielding project. It's incredible to have your support. Thank you all very much. And I want to thank members of the Illinois Humanities Board who are here. Envisioning Justice is an incredible project, but it's also a big risk for the organization. It costs a lot of money that we have to raise. It takes a lot of staff time. So thank you very much to our board members who allowed us to embark on this project. Thank you so much for joining us today.